Welcome to the S.E.M podcast. It's Jack, Bryce, and Zack Hewlett back again. Tonight we're joined by Brennon Fish.
Hey guys.
Welcome, Brennon.
Hey, thank you. Appreciate you having me. Even though you've said you'll take anybody, but I appreciate the invite.
Jeez Louise.
That's true. We will take anybody. Anybody who wants to be on here, hit us up. SEM podcast at 51spylaw.com. We'll get you on. Well, where are you calling in from tonight?
So I live in Queen Creek, Arizona, so suburb southeast of Phoenix.
All right. Very good. And we'll do this. You've listened to a couple of our episodes, so you know how we go. We talk about how you got to Scotland, and then what you've been up to since Scotland, and then we'll go back and we'll talk about the mission. So
Okay.
Start us out with when you left and what that was like getting your call.
Yeah, so I got my call in April of 2004. So I graduated high school in May of 2003. I'm from a small town in northern Arizona called Joseph City, tiny little town up there. And so once I graduated, I headed down to Phoenix area, lived in Mesa for a year going to school. So lived with roommates, lived with my brother. So I did all my mission interviews and papers while I was down there. So it got mailed to me down there. And so my parents were up in northern Arizona. So the call came in, and what we ended up doing is I grabbed the call, called them, and said, hey, it came in, and we met each other in Payson, Arizona, which is about halfway. And I opened my call in the parking lot of Walmart. So definitely not as eventful as what kids do these days. But so it was just my parents, two brothers, and my grandma and grandpa opened the call, and just like everybody else, had no idea how to say Edinburgh. And I don't even think I said Edinburgh or Edinburgh. I think I just said Scotland because I just had no idea. So, and then I was obviously very excited to go to Preston MTC as well. I had heard of it because I had a cousin who served in Manchester, and so he went to that MTC. And so, yeah, it was exciting. That was in April. I got into the mission field in July. I think it was July 21st of 2004. So not too long of a wait, which was nice. Finished out that semester of school and headed off.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm from small town Arizona myself, from Pima. So
yes, I remember we talked a few times because we were playing
eight-man football and
yep. 8-man football, high school basketball.
So you're in Conway's group, right?
Yes, I was in Conway, Rasmussen. I was looking at pictures the other day. I can't. Conway, Rasmussen, Elder Rhodes, Elder Scanlon. Those are a couple guys I think that went home a little early. There was one, Derricott. I don't know if you remember Elder Derricott.
Yeah.
He was in that group. And then we had Elder Jones, Elder Bird, Elder Aurelio, and Elder Noble. I think that rounds it out. And then Sister McLean and Sister Malin, I believe. So it was a good group.
Yeah, that's a good group.
Good group, big group.
Yeah. So since the mission, so I got home in July of 2006. I went home to my parents' house in northern Arizona. Funny thing, I got home and there was a lady in my ward growing up, and she said, "Hey, I want you to go on a date with my granddaughter." And I'm thinking, okay, I'll go on a date with anybody once, right? So, but I really didn't think anything of it. So then I moved down to Tempe near ASU, and about a month later, and my friends and I decided to go to a party. And so it was actually just a big dance party at a warehouse. And so I actually picked up a girl who I knew before my mission, and we went with some friends. And I remember on the way in, walking in and seeing, a girl and thinking, oh, she's cute. So about 20 minutes later, the friends that I went with introduced me to a girl who was the granddaughter of the woman in my ward, right?
Wow.
So we ended up at the same party and talking, and we knew of each other because her grandmother had mentioned her to her, and then obviously to me as well. And yeah, she's the last person I ever went on a date with. So we met a month after my mission. So that was in August. Engaged by I think March, and then we were married in May. So went pretty quicker than I anticipated, but it was perfect. So so my wife Danica and I just celebrated our 15th anniversary, and right after we got married, I decided to try the summer sales thing. And I heard you guys talking about this with Malloy, and I just had to laugh, right? They're like, "Oh, you went to Scotland, man. You had to work hard. You got to be good at this." I got out there and I was horrible. I was terrible at it. I'm not good at door-to-door sales. That's not my thing. And so anyway, we went to Minnesota and we did that for a summer. Didn't do well. Didn't ever do that again. And I'm happy to never do that again. And just went back to school. So since then, while I was in school, I think my best job was I worked for Frontier Airlines as a baggage handler. And so the cool thing about that is you get the free flight benefits. So my wife and I got to travel quite a bit for free. I was only part-time and going to school, so I didn't have any money when we got places, but we could get there. So yeah, nice. We did a lot of cool trips. Yeah, that was fun. So then in the end of 2011, I graduated from ASU with a degree in construction management. And so I've been working in that field ever since. So it's been a little over 10 years, and I'm an estimator. So I'm responsible for bringing more work in for our company. So we're a large commercial contractor. So
cool.
And we've got 4 kids. My oldest is 11, a boy. And then I've got 2 girls that are 8 and 4. And then I've got a 2-year-old boy. So it's pretty wild around here. It's a good thing we didn't do this call an hour ago, because I don't know if I would have made
it. Yeah, I might not have either.
That's why we're late night owls on this podcast.
Yes. Yeah. It's some days are more challenging than others. So
you guys know. That's great. So back to Arizona, and that's where you've been.
Yeah. Once we got back from the summer sales, we've really never left, other than obviously traveling. We do like to travel. But besides that, just I've lived out in Chandler, Gilbert, and Queen Creek the entire time. So Southeast Valley.
Great.
That's what we call it.
Travel back to Scotland?
Yeah, we went back in 2015. My wife and I went. And it was awesome. We went in May, and I remember getting there. We were in Edinburgh, and I'm like, man, I do not remember it being this cold in May. Like, it was cold. And so anyway, we did a couple days in Edinburgh. We'll get to that, but I never served in Edinburgh, so I don't know it that well. But we had a good time there, and then we went up to a couple areas in Fife. Visited a few people, and then we went up to Dundee, and then we went over to Isle of Skye, and then back down to Loch Lomond, stayed the night in Glasgow, and then flew off to Paris for a couple of days. So
sweet.
Yeah, it's a fun trip.
That's great.
Sounds like fun.
All right, so now back to the mission, Scotland. You can start MTC experience, or when you got to Scotland, however you want. Timeline, just walk us through, where you're serving, who you're serving with, and any specific memories you want to review.
Yeah, so MTC, Elder Rasmussen was my companion. Love Elder Rasmussen. I served with him again in Dundee later on in our missions. But another one I just remembered that was in our MTC was Elder Lineker. It was great. Yeah. Great missionary as well. So MTC was an awesome experience. I loved it, man. I loved being around all the missionaries, all the energy, the spirit that was there. I really didn't have any homesickness while I was in the MTC, just because it just felt like a party to me. I mean, it was great. it was even, I'm not a soccer guy or football, but getting out there and playing soccer in the afternoons was fun. I remember there were a few times where I got a little heated with a couple of really serious football players. Elder Aurelio got a little heated. Elder Lineker a little bit. So guys that actually knew what they were doing out there probably got fed up with Americans not knowing what they're doing, kind of like we would with basketball probably. So,
Yes,
but no complaints really about the MTC. It was fantastic. And then, so obviously headed up to Edinburgh. I remember the first day I got there, they take you out chapping and GQing, and it just poured. I mean, I had never seen so much rain in my life, especially being from Arizona. And I was like, man, this is going to be a long 2 years. It was wet. And then they took us GQing, and that was just so far out of my comfort zone. I did not enjoy that at the beginning. But so my first companion was Elder Anderson, Kevin Anderson, who would be a great addition to this podcast if you haven't reached out to him. I'm sure you have.
Do you still have contact with him? Because we've tried and we just cannot find that guy.
You know what? I might be able to get in contact with him. We'll see. I tried to see him out, and I think he lives in Idaho now. Okay. He used to live in, he was from California, and I tried to see him a couple times in California, and it just didn't work out. But I'll see what I can do. Because right. I loved serving with Elder Anderson. So if you'll, I think he was probably gone before. No, he was there when you were there, right, Hewlett?
Yeah, because he was with Sprague and Hill's group.
Okay, yeah, that was okay. So he was older. I think he came on his mission at 25, right? Mm-hmm. And he just had a whole different way of looking at things. I think a lot of that had to, probably how his mind works, but just the amount of life experience he had, it was really valuable. I learned a lot from him, a lot about reading people and how to just get along with people, right? And a couple memories I have of him. So this was in Inverness. I don't know if I mentioned that, but we were in Inverness. So love Inverness. At night, he liked to pray vocally. So he would go in a room on his own. And I thought it was really unique. It's cool. It was unique. The rest of us would kind of, have your normal prayers, and he was more audible, which was great. It was just unique to what I was used to. The other thing up there, it's a very small ward, as you guys know. I think we would have 25 people out to church. And we started doing family home evenings on Monday nights, and we would get double the amount of people that went to church to come to these family home meetings. We get like 50 people there because it was just easier to get people there. They felt less threatened, and it was creating a lot of momentum. It was really cool. I wish I could have seen that through. We were only there for 6 weeks, and then we got whitewashed, unfortunately. But I have some great memories. There were great people up there in Inverness. I wish I could have served longer and get to know those people better. But that's probably the coolest church building I've ever been to, right there on the Ness River, or River Ness, whichever way you say it. So, yeah, that was a great spot. So then I got transferred down to Glenrothes, and I served with Elder Newman. And honestly, that was so. I was pretty homesick in Inverness, just being new. But when I got to Glenrothes, it was tough. It was just different. It was a lot. In Inverness, we had 4 people in the flat, right? So there's always somebody going on. We had Elder Lehman, who went home right at the end of that first 6 weeks. He was from Germany. And then Elder Asariato. And you guys know that guy. Like, he's a party. Dude's just a party. So just being around him was just so much fun. And so when I got to Glenrothes, it was just Elder Newman and I. And Elder Newman, about 6 weeks, I think it was 6 weeks earlier, he was playing football, and he was sliding, and somebody went to jump over him, and they didn't make it all the way over. and their knee went into his eye socket and broke his eye socket, right? So he couldn't proselyte for 6 weeks, basically. So they could only go to appointments they had. And so you can imagine not doing any finding for 6 weeks, what that does to a teaching pool, right? So when I got there, it was a little difficult. It was a tough 6 weeks. He was great. Elder Newman has a fantastic voice, by the way. It'd be good to get him on as well. But and he was really good with people. I had a good time with him. He was really good at football. I remember that too. But so he got shipped off after 6 weeks. He went to be a zone leader, I think, down at Paisley. And then I got Elder Bautista, which was exactly what I needed at the time. Because that guy, he's just happy all the time. I think, Zach, you mentioned it when you first got to the mission. He was just standing there, just waiting to give you a hug, right? That's just him.
Yep. Very much him.
Yeah. I mean, we had it was a fun 6 weeks. I learned a lot from him. I remember one time we were saying a prayer before we left the flat. And, we're kneeling down by the door, and I would just pop up, right, and just go. And he's like, Elder Fish, we need to be still a little bit here. Let's just wait, possibly receive some revelation. He just taught me to be a little more still, right, and wait for a sec to just see if we receive any promptings, which was cool advice I still, follow to today. So, yeah, I had a really, really good time with him. I've seen him two times since the mission. I know I think he mentioned that when he was on with you guys, but I saw him in, I think, 2017. Elder Peterson and I met him over in Las Vegas. And then I just saw him about a month ago in Utah. So nice. that was a cool meeting. I knew he was in the States because I saw him post a picture golfing, but I thought he was in southern Utah, and I happened to be up in South Jordan. And I got a random text from just an acquaintance, guy I don't even really know very well, here in Gilbert. And it was a picture of him and Bautista in a golf cart. I'm like, how are you golfing with my mission companion from Sweden? And he's like, oh, I served with his best friend in London, and they're here, and we're golfing. I'm like, where are you guys? And they were in like Saratoga Springs. It was like 15 minutes from us.
Oh my gosh.
So we ended up meeting up, and he met my wife and kids and a couple other family members, and just had a good afternoon with him. He's the same.
Awesome.
He's just so loving, so good. It was fun. I'm not surprised that he's a stake president. So
nor were we. Man.
Yeah. So right before Christmas, he got transferred out to be his own leader up in Aberdeen, and I got Elder Fisher, and that's the SCHER. So from Sandy, Utah, Matt Fisher, great guy. Matt. Actually, Elder Fisher was in my MTC group. I forgot to mention him, of course.
Oh,
so
yeah.
It was awesome serving together. We were both only out 4.5 months, so it was definitely a time of growth for me, because before I could kind of let Bautista, Newman, or Anderson kind of take the lead, and once he came in, I had to take the lead a little bit more, which was great, and I had to start driving around. So that was a lot of fun. I love driving over there in Scotland. So him and I were together in Glenrothes for 4.5 months. And we saw some success there. We had a good time. There was a couple people who were member referrals who ended up getting baptized, both younger people. One was Daniel Gillespie. Daniel, I think, was our age. He was 18 or 19. He was a really cool kid. When he got baptized, it was March, and the hot water heater went out. And so the water was freezing. Like, I thought the kid was going to have hypothermia. He was just shaking uncontrollably. But it was that was awesome. And then the other one was Katie. Can't remember Katie's last name, but she was baptized. But they were both friends with the Johnson family. And about a year later, those two ended up like running off together and leaving the church. And I was
there when it happened. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
It
So
was,
that
it was interesting.
yeah, that was unfortunate. They were great, but yeah, things didn't work out too well. Some that was and Jack, you can attest to this, but man, the Kirkcaldy Award was fantastic. I loved serving there. Jack, did you guys have Brother Watt as your mission leader, ward mission leader?
Yeah, it was Brother Watt for probably half my time there, and then the latter half was Brother Black, President
Okay.
Black.
Oh, okay. Alan Black?
Yep.
Yeah, okay. So Brother Watt, man, I loved that guy. He was so funny. We visited him when we went back in 2015, and he's the same. Like he just made fun of me the entire time because that's what he does, right? He just makes fun. And so being with Fisher, you can imagine the amount of times we got Fish and Fisher, Fisher's the men jokes. I mean, President said it when President called me on moves. That's what he said. You're going to be Fisher's the men, and we got it all the time at the doors. And then Elder Bass got in the Kirkcaldy ward as well. So we had Fisher, Fish, Bass, and our ward mission leader was the owner of the fishery. And yeah, we had a good time. Bass was great. Who else served in Kirkcaldy? Oh, it was Elder Buckner. And
Ben.
Elder Bjadker from Norway.
Yep.
So they were in there, and then Buckner got transferred out, and we got Elder Bass. And we'd have so much fun with those guys. Fisher, I remember. Jack, you'll probably remember this. That flat sucked.
That was another one where I ended up, I think, moving most of the furniture into the main room just to survive, like stay
just
warm.
To stay warm. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was so cold up in the upstairs where the beds were. So I remember in the morning, Fisher would wake up, and he'd just go by that electric fireplace, and he'd just lay there for like an hour,
defrost a little bit.
Yeah, it was just a mess. That was a horrible flat.
So I just remembered I'm pretty sure that's where I got really addicted to secondhand smoke and nicotine. Studying in the corner, somebody it's a townhouse, and the adjoining wall, it would just seep through. And I think I studied my scriptures every morning, just breathing that in.
Oh, nice.
And I went home from there, and I would walk by people who were smoking. I'd find myself like breathing in as deeply as I could. Like, what am I doing? What's going on here? But yeah, I think it was that flat that did it to me.
Yeah. I don't remember that. You might have gotten new neighbors because I don't remember all the smoke, but
maybe.
Yeah. So 4.5 months was kind of a long time with Fisher. We had a good time, but by the end, I think we were both ready for a change. There were a few times we fought like brothers, Love the dude. Like, he was great. But I think we were both ready to kind of move on for something new. And then I got shipped off to Cumbernauld. And I don't know if I was ready for that, but that's where I went. And I served with Elder McDonald. So I got McDonald right after Elder Hill. And when I got there, there wasn't much of a teaching pool there. That was a tough area. It was a tough time there. We did so much chapping. I was actually reading through my journal the other day, and it was lots of days of all we did was chap, no appointments, right?
Yeah,
a lot of chapping. Elder McDonald, though. What's that?
I was there before McDonald with Hill.
Yeah,
I was there for 6 months, and somewhere I have a map of Glen Rothis where I highlighted the streets that we chapped, and it's pretty much filled out during that 6 months, and then they probably got it again. Like, that's all there was to do there. So
yeah,
no high street.
Yeah, no high street. So Elder McDonald was great. I would have loved to have served with him longer. It was just 6 weeks, but I remember towards the end of that 6 weeks, we had president's interviews, and President told us he was thinking about shutting down the area because there was just nothing going on. And you talk about demotivating missionaries, right? Like, hey, we're going to shut your area down. And then at the end of the 6 weeks, he doesn't shut it down. I'm like, oh, crap. I guess I'm staying here. So, and a couple other things I remember about there was, there wasn't, when I first got there, they didn't have the church building open yet. So we were going to church in the school, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So the first Sunday, I laughed through the entire church because, like, there were vending machines on the side. You could hear all this noise. Like, I'm just like, this is the craziest thing. And then I got Elder Stratton. And Elder Stratton was there. We didn't always see eye to eye, but I'll tell you what, that dude worked hard, and he was a great missionary. We worked really hard, and we finally started to see some success. We started teaching Mark McGregor, who was a husband of a member, and Mark ended up getting baptized after I left, and he actually served in the bishopric there in Cumbernauld as well. And then we found a lady named, I believe it was Anne Marie, and we started teaching her as well. And she ended up getting baptized with Stratton and Malloy as well. So, that 6 weeks we were able to find some great people, and we worked our butts off. I was so tired every night. Do you remember? Was it Bishop Foote there, Jack?
Yeah.
So.
Yep.
I don't know what your experience was with Bishop Foote and their family with dinner appointments, but man, it was, dude, their kids
with the feet, right? The two boys, the feet. That's what we call them.
Yes, they were two big boys, and they ate so loud, right? And I was just like, "Is this really happening?" And then we would start to give them a spiritual thought, and no joke, even Bishop would just like glaze over. And nobody would pay attention. I don't know if this happened to you, Jack. Maybe ours just sucked. I don't know. But so it got to the point where Elder Stratton and I would just like make stories up in the middle of spiritual class just to see if they would catch it. And they never did because they didn't pay attention. Like, it was so much fun. I remember just dying laughing at those DAs.
Those kids are great too. Like, I was there during the presidential election. So they'd always give me commentary like on the election, but it was based off of like SNL skits of how the election was going. So that's how I knew what American politics was happening.
Oh, I'm sure they're very accurate.
And then they would just rattle off these jokes about like Neds. They say like, what do you call a Ned in jeans? Rejected. Like, gotta have the Burberry tracksuit. I still remember that one.
Oh my gosh, that's too good.
That's good. Yeah. Those dinner appointments, man, they were interesting. I remember just laughing my head off at just how like ridiculous it all seemed. And then I heard Elder Malloy talking about the ward mission leader there was Brother Armour, right?
Yeah. That's what he said.
And how he was like Elder Stratton.
Yeah.
So we were on our way. They came to pick us up because I think I remember they lived out of town a little ways. So they came to pick us up at our flat for a dinner appointment. And on the way there, he's talking about the movie The Passion of the Christ, which was fairly new at that point. And he's talking about how much he loves it. And he's like, "Have you guys seen it?" And I'm like, "No." And Elder Stratton's like, "No, it's rated R." And I'm like, oh no, here it comes. And he's like,
they went to the opening.
He's like, "Well, Elder Stratton, when you get home and you decide to exercise your free agency, maybe you should watch the movie."
The Arnolds had gone. They went to the opening like with Mel Gibson.
Oh, really?
Flew over here and went to it. Yeah, like they were way into that. So that was major, like a personal insult, I guess.
Yeah.
No wonder he didn't like you.
Yeah. So from then on, I don't think him and Stratton got along. Probably that was it. You disrespect Passion of the Christ, you're out. So, So then, we got moves calls, and I got the call that I was going to Air to serve with Elder Peterson, which I was super excited about. First off, I wanted to go to Air because my great aunt was born in Alloa, which is just south of Air. So she still had some sisters there that she wanted me to go visit, which was which I was excited to do. And then I wanted to serve with Elder Peterson. Him and I got along well, and we were both from Arizona. I wanted that connection, you know. So I was excited about that. And then the next night, I get a phone call from President Vriens. He's like, "Hey, Elder Fish, there's been some changes." And I'm like, "Oh no, please tell me I'm not staying in Cumbernauld." Sorry, Cumbernauld wasn't my favorite area, but and he's like, "You are now going to be district leader. We've had to move some things around, and we're making you district leader." Like, and he's like, "Elder Peterson's been, you know, lots of leadership positions. You need any help, he'll help you." I'm like, okay, sounds good. So what happened was, did you guys ever hear about the S.E.M expositor?
Nope.
Oh, so there were a couple missionaries who decided that. Well, have you ever heard of the Nauvoo expositor? So it was like a paper back in Nauvoo where they'd like expose things within the church, right? Trying to get people away from the church. At least that's the way I understood it. Well, somebody in the mission decided to write one about the S.E.M, but it was just satire, and it was just making fun of missionaries, like ridiculous things. Like I can't even remember. I read a couple articles. Anyway, this president got a hold of this and was just pissed about it. And sorry, excuse the language, because I know there'll be some English people listening to this, but he was super mad about this. And the person who was supposed to be the district leader then was no longer going to be the district leader because of this S.E.M expositor, which is, so going back and reading it, actually I should get a hold of that missionary. It was Skinny Mace wrote it. I would love to get a hold of it because he was just making fun of people, and it was great. So anyway, I got to air, and Elder Peterson only had 4 weeks left because of his visa running out. So I got to serve with him for 4 weeks, and we had a really good time there. For about a week of it, we had Elder Webb with us. He was traveling around as a missionary, and I think because I was a new district leader, he sent him over. So it was 3 guys from Arizona, which was a lot of fun. I don't know if you've reached out to him, probably have. But he lives about a mile from me. So if you can't get a hold of him, I'll drive over to his house.
Perfect.
Yeah, I do fantasy football with him, and our wives go hang out all the time, actually. So,
Awesome.
but he's hard to get a hold of. I'll tell you that. Even with like fantasy football and stuff, he just won't text you back. So, Elder Webb, if you hear this, you need to get on here. So anyway, those 4 weeks were a lot of fun with Elder Peterson. So I'm not as tall as you guys, but I'm 6'2", so I'm usually taller side. Man, I felt short walking around with that guy all day.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah,
Me too. My goodness.
he everywhere we went, people would be like, "Man, you're tall," and he'd just be like, "Thanks," you know. Like, and then sometimes, depending on how he's feeling, he'd be like, "Yeah, I'm in the NBA. Do you want my autograph?" And so he'd give out autographs all the time. I've even been with him here in Arizona, and he's giving out autographs to little kids.
Are you serious?
Oh yeah, like we were at a restaurant. They're like, "Hey, how tall are you?" He's like, "I'm 6'11". You want my autograph? And they're like, "Sure."
6'11".
So funny.
So after those 4 weeks, Elder Drew was in Stranraer, south of Air, with Elder Percy, and Elder Percy was going home. Was it Percy? Is that right? You remember Elder Percy?
That is a correct name from the mission.
Okay, well I think that's him. So Elder Percy was going home at the same time as Elder Peterson, and so they just put Elder Drew and I together. And man, that was like the best 2 weeks. Elder Drew was hilarious. We had so much fun. We worked hard. We went down to Stranraer a couple times to just check on stuff in his area, and we had a great time. And then so right after those 2 weeks, I got called to train, and I got Elder Petty from Salt Lake. And Elder Petty and I were together for 4.5 months. And Petty was a great guy. He's a great guy, super smart. I'm sure that dude's doing all kinds of stuff. He's in the medical field doing something. I think he's like I can't remember what he does, but he's very, very smart and very diligent, hard worker. I remember we got this flat. It was over somebody's house. They rented out the top floor. We had our own entrance, but Petty, he wanted to go running in the morning. I'm like, man, it's too cold and I don't want to run. And so he'd just get up and he'd just run in place in the flat. And so the people were like, do you guys have a treadmill in there? What are you doing out here? Just Petty exercising, being diligent. Guy stayed in shape. He was good. And he was also like, he was a very deep thinker, right? He really thought about everything. You remember that, Elder Hewlett?
Yes, I do. Very deep thinker.
So like, even to the, like, I want to say when he got baptized, he didn't get baptized when he was 8 because he didn't feel like he was ready. He waited until he was like 9 or 10. So
it sounds like him.
Yeah. But we taught some awesome people. We there was a lady who we ended up knocking on her door. Her name was Linda McCady, and she just let us right into her house. We're like, hey, this is weird, right? So she had been given a Book of Mormon. Elder Hout had given it to her on a train, just randomly. And so she let us in, and we taught her for probably the rest of our time there. So probably 4 months. And she came to church a couple times. She was really, really cool. She progressed a bit, only to a certain point, but we loved visiting her. And then we also taught a lady named Ruth. Ruth was in her 80s, and she was from Germany. And the first time we knocked on her door, we shared, obviously the first lesson with her. And man, the Spirit was so strong, and she committed to read. And we came back, and she had read the passages, and the Spirit was just so strong, teaching her in the beginning, especially. And I think it kind of got to a point where she just really liked her company. But she would come to church every Sunday. She was there every Sunday. Somebody would pick her up from the ward, and it was great. I do remember that when we showed her the restoration, all 3 of us fell asleep. Petty and I, you're just so tired, right? She was asleep. I was asleep. I just remember waking up like, oh gosh, well, that was productive. That was good.
That short film had just that. It was just a magical opportunity to feel warm and cozy inside. And yes,
especially when you've seen it 100 times, right?
Right, exactly. But yeah, for those of us, like you said, it's just we're so tired, busy all the time. It was very easy to just doze off at points in that film. So I get it 100%.
Yeah. But that was a great ward. Elder Bear spoke about Umberto Gilardi and how that guy he had Stobbs the baker. I think it was Stobbs. Anyway, his bakery, anytime we went in there, we got free whatever we wanted, which was fun. And what I remember about that guy, he organized a football match between the missionaries and some of the guys that worked for him. So, like, I think at that point, Elder Bautista was in Paisley. So him and a couple other elders came down. So we had some guys that could play. And so Umberto told his guys, like, hey, the first one to swear owes me 10 quid, right? Umberto was the first one to swear, right? And of course, his guys gave him a hard time about it. But I remember that. That was fun. And Elder Bear talked about how that guy, he blessed his baby and asked all of his friends and family to come. And there was over 100 people there. And then afterwards, so I was there when that happened. And afterwards, he gave us the list of names and addresses of every single one of those people. And so we just started following up with all of them. Most of them weren't interested. We had a few that, said we could come back, things like that. I don't remember it really going anywhere with us, but hopefully it did afterwards. But pretty cool that he invited all those people. And then a couple other memories, like the Sharkeys. I don't know if you ever heard of the Sharkeys out there. They were kind of famous with the missionaries. But Brother Sharkey was a preacher of some sort back in the day. And so when that guy got up to give a talk or bear his testimony, I think he was ready to just walk around, right? Having that pulpit in front of him just didn't feel right. He was also a prisoner of war back in, I don't know, it's probably Vietnam or the Korean War. And I remember them telling us that one time he was having lots of headaches and memory issues. And so he got an MRI, and the doctor's like, "Were you in a major car accident?" And he's like, "Oh, wait, somebody beat me over the head repeatedly when I was a prisoner of war." So that dude had some stories, man.
Wow.
Oh my gosh.
He was awesome. One time we had General Conference, October General Conference of 2015, it would have been. The satellite went out, so we just decided to have a testimony meeting there. And I remember him giving a testimony, and he started walking around. It was powerful, man. I'd love to listen to that guy. The other thing that I remember when I listened to your one about Hill, you guys were talking about the pint Uno.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
So I didn't remember this until I was looking at my journal, but we decided to play that, but with phase 10. And if you didn't get the phase, you had to drink 3 cups of water. Well, apparently I was about 10 cups deep, and we had kebabs that night, and I just threw up. And everybody watched it, thought it was hilarious. But after that, I could drink more. So I didn't even remember that one, but
oh my gosh. I hadn't heard about the phase 10.
yeah,
That's
good
funny.
times. Staying up late on conference weekend with people staying at your flat. That I loved serving there and being the district leader. That was fun because we had Elder Pilkington and Elder McBride.
Yep.
In one of the areas, and then Elder Mace and Elder Boughton, I believe, they were in Kilmarnock, and then down in Stranraer was Elder Drew and Elder Ballack, which were those guys were always a good time for sure. I mean, and then we had a lot of sisters too. We had sisters in Air, and then we had some senior sisters in one of the other areas who one transfer baptized like 6 people. Those sisters, they baptized the family, the senior sisters. That was pretty cool.
Wow.
So yeah, that was fun. So right before Christmas, Petty and I had been together 4.5 months. We both actually got transferred to Dundee. I got transferred to the zone leaders area, and he got transferred to the other one. But we were both in Bingham Terrace. And so I got transferred to Elder Rasmussen, and I think, Jack, that you would have been in Glen Rothis, right?
Yeah.
I think that was probably your last transfer.
Yep.
I remember my first day there, we were walking, and there's all these people walking into a building, and we're like, "Oh, let's just go in." And it was the Kingdom Hall. And so we went to a Jehovah's Witness meeting, and it was like a zone conference. Like they were teaching people how to go proselyte. It was actually pretty cool. It was pretty similar to a zone conference. And yeah, I mean, you guys remember Elder Rasmussen. He was so easy to get along with, so fun to hang out with. Trying to think of some of the people we taught there. So we had a media referral who was Kylie Kelby, and we walked in, and she was like 18, and I'm always skeptical. I was always skeptical when like we were teaching a young person, like they're not going to be interested. I should have had more faith, but that's usually what went through my thoughts. So anyway, she took a Book of Mormon, and she committed to read it, and we went back, and she kept her commitments, and we baptized. She ended up getting baptized in less than 4 weeks, which was fast. Like that's the only time that ever happened to me. She was just prepared and ready, and it was great. So, and she started. There was a lot of young single adults in Dundee, so it was good. It was a really good situation for her to meet people. And then we also were teaching a girl whose grandparents, I think, were members of the church at one point. The Gellatleys, Monroe Gellatley, I think is how you said their last name. Anyway, we would go teach her, and she ended up getting baptized a little while later, I think right after I left, 6 months later. But one thing I learned from that, we would go do, every time we did that teach, we went with a member. His name was Alf, I think. His name was Alf. Anyway, he was an older guy. And we hadn't been to see him for a couple of weeks just due to conflicts. And we had this appointment set up. And that same night, we remembered that we were supposed to be at a meeting with the stake president and the mission president in Dundee, there in Dundee. And so I called him like, hey, we're going to have to cancel. And he reamed me, man. He's like, this is about missionary work. It's not about meetings. What are we doing here? And it was a good learning experience. He was right. He was 100% right. Like, who cares about the meeting with the stake president? I mean, although meetings are important, but we were there for the people. And so we ended up being able to kind of split it off and go with separate missionaries and still do the teach. But that was a lesson I learned that I've kept with me for a long time. And Hewlett, this is when I met you, when you were over in Montrose.
Was it Montrose?
Yeah.
When were you? You were the zone leader, like
it was
after Christmas. You said then, right?
Yeah,
you're right. Yep.
Yeah, I think you probably got there right around then, right?
Yeah, because I trained Elder Marsh like 2 days before Christmas.
Yeah, that's exactly
and we whitewashed into Montrose. So
okay.
Yep.
Yeah, so I was there for 6 months, so it would have been probably most of the time you were or all the time you were in Montrose.
Yep, you're right.
I remember Elder Marsh. Wasn't Elder Marsh the one that had the thing that the piece of his teeth and like gums that you pulled out?
Yeah, I don't know what the reason was, but he had like a piece between like the roof of his mouth, so he could close his mouth and spit water out of his nose, because he had like a space there, but he had a device that made his face complete.
Yeah, so. I remember I went on exchanges, and like when we were going to bed, he like took it out and started talking, and he sounded really weird. I'm like, what is going on?
Yeah, that was something he surprised me with. One of the first days, I was like, okay. But yeah,
he's a cool guy.
He's a great guy.
Hey, I don't know if you remember this, Hewlett, but I think it was when Marsh was still there, so probably before you got Elder King. But I know you came and a few others. We played basketball. We had an investigator named, I think it was like Chi. He was from China. And so he had some buddies that liked to play basketball. So we had a guy from China, Trinidad and Tobago, Scottish, and then a bunch of Americans. And we were all playing basketball in a rec center. I don't know if you remember that.
Is that in Dundee?
It was in Dundee.
Huh.
And I guess to me it was cool because we just had so many nations playing basketball on this court. And also we didn't get to play basketball very much. So to play real basketball was a lot of fun.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember that. I tried to drag Elder Marsh to play basketball a few times, and he's like, we should go chapping. And I was like, why? Come on, let's go play ball.
On P Day?
I mean, we would take some of our P Day time like in the evenings, because that's when the groups of kids would get together to play ball. And so we'd go play ball at one of the rec centers in Arbroath. And it was fun. We practiced with like one of the, I want to say they were a semi-professional team that practiced there, that were like the under 18s, and it was a lot of fun. There was good basketball too. So
yeah, nice.
That was paramount for me. P-Day basketball with other missionaries just wasn't cutting it for me. I needed some good ball.
You'd have to get the right group for sure.
Yeah.
I used to. So after Rasmussen, I got Elder Hout, who could also play basketball, and so him and I played quite a bit of ball too with this guy. I think it was Chi. He was from China. Anyway, that was a lot of fun. With Elder Rasmussen, we started visiting this family. Well, it was a husband and wife. They were born again Christians, and they loved to have discussions with us. They did not agree with most of what we said, but they were very nice, and they liked having us over. They'd have us over for dinner. Well, one time he invited us to go on this. They were going to go hiking, and so they invited us to go. And so Elder Rasmussen, like, yeah, let's go. It was Saturday morning. So they go to divide everybody up in cars, and all of a sudden it's just Elder Rasmussen in a car with this like 20-year-old girl. And we're like, oh,
oops,
what do we do now? So we just went, and it just felt weird. You know how it is. Like it felt really awkward. But I remember on that hiking trip, we didn't. It wasn't much of a hike, right? There weren't really any mountains around there, but that hill walk, and we got all 4 seasons on that hill walk. I got some rain, I got some snow. It was sunny, windy. I mean, you got everything. So,
Yep.
and then I was with Elder Rasmussen for 3 months, and then I got Elder Hout, and Hout was a good time. Those two back to back. So Dundee was probably my favorite area, and a lot of that had to do with just having those two back to back. It was a lot of fun. I got along really well with both those guys. Served 3 months with both of them, and I really enjoyed being a zone leader too, only because I just liked being around the missionaries. So being able to visit people and go on exchanges, that was a lot of fun to me. It was fun to be able to go back to like my old area in Glenrothes. I remember I went down there on exchanges once with Elder Parmenter before you guys left. And then I went down there with Elder Pattenden when he took over, the younger Elder Pattenden. And but Elder Hout was great. We got another meteor referral actually when Elder Hout came, and another Finding Faith in Christ DVD, and it was another girl who was probably in her mid to late 20s. She had a kid, and Kelly. And we ended up teaching her, and she ended up getting baptized as well. Like it was awesome. We felt super blessed to get some media referrals that were just prepared and ready, both younger people, and it was fun. I remember, so Kelly was a smoker, and of course that was always a big hurdle, right, to get people to quit smoking. And we taught her about it, and she just decided she was going to quit, and she did. It was crazy. I'd never seen anything like it. She just quit. Obviously, she had some help, but it was a really cool experience to see that happen. Yeah, I'm trying to think of any other memories with Elder Howe. I do remember Dora's Fish and Chip Shop. We'd go there at least once a week, and I don't like fish and chips, but I love deep fried pizza. I had to eat that like crazy, man.
Man, deep fried pizza was a pure death sentence, but it was delicious.
Dude, if I ate that now, I'd gain like 20 pounds.
I'd die. I just wouldn't survive it now.
I remember when my wife and I went back, we were at dinner with the Snees, who are a family there in Dundee. I think he's the stake president now, or at least he was when I went back in 2015. He was the bishop at the time. But anyway, I was telling their son, who was actually on a mission when I was telling him about, love to go to Dora's, went and ate there all the time. He's like, how much weight did you gain on your mission? You had to have gained a bunch of weight. I don't know how, man. I gained like 5 pounds on my mission. I'm not sure how.
Wow. That's
I've gained
impressive.
a ton since, but on the mission, I was good.
It was all that walking, right?
Yeah, probably. I had a car in Glenrothes, and then had a car for half of Dundee, but the rest of it was walking. So, yeah, a lot of walking.
I did all that walking and still gained 3 stone. So,
yeah, well, like I said, it's caught up to me, man. I've gained like 5 stone since, so I don't know. That was a cool award. What's that?
I was just gonna say that's a whole nother person.
Yeah, pretty much. No, maybe not 5, but it's been quite a bit. Man, that was just such a fun ward. We had 6 missionaries in that ward, because while I was there, they added sisters to St. Andrews.
Oh yeah, and, that's right.
So Sister Kenny, and I can't remember who else I served with around there. I've seen Sister Kenny since mission as well. She was randomly in Scottsdale, and so she took an Uber out to my house, actually.
Oh, really?
Yeah, she had dinner over here, and we hung out for a little while. It was pretty cool.
That's awesome.
Yeah, Sister Kenny was cool. There were so many. There were a lot of cool sisters. I remember before I went on a mission, people would always tell me, like, I'd have guys like, oh, when I was district leader, I had sisters in my district, and there was always fights and drama and blah blah blah. I never had any of that. I never saw any of that. Like, sisters were awesome.
I agree.
What was pretty cool about Dundee was that they had some awesome youth. And I know, Elder Hewlett, you've talked about this, how you kind of gravitated towards the youth, right? Man, the youth in that ward were awesome. The Snees had another kid, Scotty Snee, who we would play soccer with a lot. And then there was a couple brothers, Andrew and I can't remember their names. Man, I wish I could remember these kids' names, but they both had really long hair and they both loved heavy metal. And I remember I was blessing the sacrament with one of them, and he found out that I was in like a metal band before my mission, right? And he's like, "No way!" And he's like he's like singing Pantera songs and stuff up on the while we're getting ready to. I'm like, dude, can we just wait till after? Like, let's try and keep the spirit here a little bit here. But it was a lot of fun being in that ward. And then, so my last 6 weeks, I got called to Dumbarton, and I trained Elder Goodwin, who was from Utah. That was to me a lot like Cumbernauld, just more beautiful. And that it was hard. Like the work was hard there. Now, obviously, it's hard. I think you guys have done it, opening up an area like that. Well, that area had been closed actually, I think, for like 6 months, and so opening that back up. And I think, have you guys ever washed into an area? Did you ever do that?
Mm-hmm.
I didn't.
Oh, okay.
Twice.
Mm-hmm. This was my first experience in doing that. It was just hard. You're kind of, you're starting from ground zero, right? And we didn't have a flat in the area, so we lived in the I think it was like the Kilpatrick area. I don't remember what it was called. Just right there, the next area over in Glasgow. And so we had to take a bus or a train into our area, which took 30 to 45 minutes each way. And so you're burning a bunch of time doing that. And so that was pretty tough. But we worked really hard. It was good to serve my last 6 weeks training to keep me from getting too trunky. But Dumbarton was beautiful, man. I mean, we were right there we ended up getting a flat in Balloch, which was right next to Loch Lomond.
Yeah.
And so we'd go down there, eat lunch all the time. We had a cool neighbor who would take us to lunch all the time. And that was a lot of fun. So that was cool because when I went there, Elder Petty was the zone leader. Obviously I trained Elder Petty. So it was cool to have him as my zone leader. Him and I, from the time he got in the mission until I left, we served around each other for 10 and a half months. So almost the entire year he was there. So spent a lot of time around Elder Petty. Yeah, it was cool. He was a super cool guy. So I think that's it. I think that's all my areas, guys.
That's good. Did you pick back up the metal band when you got home?
No, actually. So I was a drummer, and I played like probably 4 or 5 times since I've gotten home. It's
okay.
It takes up a little space, so I've been contemplating getting like an electric kit so you can just put headphones on and jam away, but haven't done it yet.
Awesome.
Maybe when you don't have you said you have a 2-year-old?
Yeah.
Maybe once you don't have toddlers running around, it'd be a different story.
Yeah, that's probably a good idea. I keep saying that about a lot of things, but we've been in that phase for a long time. So
just do it.
Oh man!
All right. So one thing we've been asking everybody, and we're getting ready this week to talk to the Vriens, is what memories do you have, President and Sister Vriens, in the mission?
I don't know that I have many beyond, some of the ones that have been said. One thing I do remember about Sister Vriens is how she'd always talk with her eyes closed. Oh, elders, I love you. Always with her eyes closed. And we went, and he came down to our, they came down to our wedding, and then we visited them a couple times up there too. And my wife loves Sister Vriens. She's just awesome. She's and just her closing her eyes while she talks. I just remember that. I do remember President Vriens So every time, like if I say a prayer or something with my kids and I kneel down and I just do one knee, I feel like President Vriens. I'm like, man, I'm too young to be doing this. He was doing this when he was 70, right?
Yep.
I'm in my 30s. I should be able to get down. The thing I remember about President Vriens is that he just had this ability to make you feel so special, right? Like that you were like he probably told every single missionary this when they got in, like, Elder, you're going to be a leader. Don't let me down, something like that, right? And you thought, oh, I really am going to be a leader, right? Like he just did such a good job of making you feel loved and important. And there's been, there's a few people that I've had in my life like that, and I've just always looked up to him, and he's one of them. I think my wife and I went and visited him probably in it's probably like 2013, because I think my oldest was like 2 years old. And we went to their house, and I remember President Vriens just acting like he was my kid's grandpa. Like he just took him by the hand and was just leading him around his backyard like he was his grandson. That's just how he treated people, and I think that's what I remember most about those two, just how warm and loving they were. We had a good time with them, obviously. I mean, Elder Aurelia already told the story about when Elder Conway was sick when we first got to the mission home, and she couldn't remember his name, and she said, "Please bless whatever his name is." That was our introduction to Sister Vriens, and it didn't stop there. So, but I think that's probably my biggest memory, is just how warm and loving they were. I can't think of anything too specific at the top of my head.
That's good. Yeah, as a leader, President Vriens he embodied like treating us as he expected us to be, even if we didn't live that way. He treated us like leaders, or great missionaries. The famous elder.
That's right.
Right.
That's right. So, there was always that, and he also one thing I do remember him saying, he just, he was pretty successful, right? And I just remember him saying, he's like, as the CEO of my company, I was willing to clean toilets, right? You have to be willing to do what you're asking everybody to do. And that's what he was teaching us as missionaries, right? Make sacrifices and things like that. We had to be willing to do that if we're asking people to do the same. And so that's always something that stuck with me.
Yeah. Great. Anybody else you want to shout out who we need to get on here?
So some of them have already been said, and I know. So I do see Elder Willis from time to time.
Oh, please. Can you find that guy and beat him in the arm for me?
We have some mutual friends, so every now and then I'll see him at like a get together. So I'll see if I get that guy. That guy was a ton of fun. Elder Webb would be fun. Elder Rollo. Oh, you know who would be good? Gosh, who served with Elder Rollo for a long time? They served as zone leaders and as APs. Elder Bradley. So he ended up marrying, what was that sister? Sister Crookston?
I think it was Crookston, right?
Crookston, yeah. They ended up getting married. So you should get both those two on together. That'd be fun.
We'd love to. They're just ghosts on social media. So
yeah. Honestly,
anybody listening who has a connection to Jared Bradley and was it Melissa? Sister Melissa Crookston, is that right?
I don't remember her first name.
If I said it wrong, I'm sorry, but please help us get in touch with the Bradleys.
Yeah, maybe we should just butcher people's names, and then they'll have to. Actually, it's.
You know what? Or I should have come on here and just said bad things about a bunch of people, so they'd have to come down and set the record straight.
That was Poland's take the other night. So.
Oh, you had Poland on?
Yeah.
Oh man, I can't wait to hear that one.
Yeah, it was good. It was a good conversation.
Yeah. Elder Lineker, Elder Drew. Yeah, Drew was so funny. I don't know if you guys served around him much. That guy was so fun. Elder Rollo. and Elder Taylor. I was close to both of those guys. They'd be great to hear from as well. Have you guys reached out to Taylor?
What's Elder Taylor's first name? I'm trying to
Levi.
remember. I don't know that I have.
I saw him post something on his stories the other day on Instagram, so he's on there.
Man, I'm gonna have to do a deep dive of Instagram now. I've been reliant on the trusty Facebook for a lot of things, and it's been pretty good to us.
Yeah, I'm sure it is. I actually can't figure out the password, so I haven't been on Facebook for years.
I'm just glad that the email that I found of you actually worked. I just sent it on a whim, and I was like, please tell me he still has access to this. That was too funny.
Jack had actually reached out to me right before that on LinkedIn, and I don't know
nice.
if he got the email. Maybe it was, but yep, still have it.
That's good.
That's great. Well, thank you very much, Brennan, for coming on, giving us some of your time.
Yeah, absolutely, man. It really is a ton of fun. I was telling my wife the other night, I'm like, hey, we should go back to Scotland. You know, you just get this itch after talking about it so much. It was, man, it was a tough. It was difficult. Obviously, it was very difficult. But man, it was a rewarding 2 years. I was a lot like Elder Malloy was saying there at kind of the end of your conversation with him. Like when it was done, I wasn't like, I was ready to move on to the next phase of life. You know, I felt like I'd worked hard and done what was asked of me. But man, I miss it a lot of times. Although I do sometimes have dreams that I'm back on a mission, and it feels like a nightmare. I'm like, oh my gosh. You guys have those?
Thank goodness I don't. Man.
I have had a few of those, and I have, your like current consciousness comes into play, and you're like, how on earth am I going to do this when I have a wife and a child, and
yes,
I'm supposed to provide for them, and all of a sudden I'm like on a plane or I'm in some mission, and I'm like, I can't be here. Like I have other things to be doing. Yes, I've had that recurring dream a few times. It's a nightmare.
Yeah, it really is. And I wake up, I'm so happy that it was a dream. But it was a great 2 years. And I loved the people of Scotland and loved all the things that I learned and people I got to serve with, especially. It's a great bond we have as missionaries of the S.E.M. for sure.
Yeah. I'm just going to say this, and I'm glad you reminded me of the fact that you were in Dundee for 6 months while I was in Montrose, but I loved every second being around you. You had the most jovial smile and chuckle, and you just made my day every time I was around you. So thanks for being a great leader and up with my antics here from time to time.
Oh man, I appreciate that. No, it was awesome to get to know you and serve around you as well, man. You were a great missionary. Unfortunately, Jack, you and I hardly ever saw you, man.
Yeah, I think we just met in passing, basically.
Yeah, and then those last 6 weeks you were in Glen Rothes, that was went by like that. So, but yeah, likewise, Hewlett. It was great to serve around you, and man, there were so many people that I just learned so much from. And it would be fun I wish we were all closer and we could actually do like real in-person reunions. But if I ever make it out to Denver, I'll look you guys up for sure.
Cool.
We would love that.
All right.
Brendan,
well,
it's been awesome.
Thanks, guys.
We love you. Thank you so much for
taking
love
time.
You too.
All right. See you guys.
All right, brother. See you soon. Bye.